Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in for this little part two, if you will, of Marriage is Difficult. I told you that we would broadcast this, so whether you're listening or you are watching, thanks for jumping on here. And just want to finish the thoughts that we talked about in the message. You know, we ended, if you didn't watch or listen to part one, make sure you do that from our weekend service. But if you got your outline there and you want to finish filling this in, you can go ahead and grab that if you just want to watch and listen. But point number three, what do we do when we find ourselves in difficult rhythms or places, unhealthy rhythms in our relationships? What do we do? Here was point number three, fight for your marriage. Fight for your marriage. Notice I didn't say fight in your marriage. That's what we all already do. What we mean is fight for your marriage. Meaning, some of us, we just need to get the desire back that we're not going to let it go. We just need to decide that this relationship can be better. We don't have to stay in this unhealthy pattern. There doesn't have to be the elephant in the room. We can get some help. We can go to counseling. We can start dating again. We can have that difficult conversation to be able to extend forgiveness. And so that's the goal, really. The goal is that we would fight for our marriage, that we would all have the want to make it better. And then once you have the want to make it better, and I realize it takes two, but here's what I would say. It needs to start with one. It takes two, but it needs to start with one. And why don't you let you be the one that says, I'm not going to stay living in this old way, this old pattern. And that doesn't mean that you got to bail. It means that you need to take some action steps to make it better. And I just want to give you a few of those real quick. This is one of my favorite things to share whenever we do a marriage talk. It's one of the things that I would say has helped me in my marriage the most. What can you do to fight for your marriage? All right, there's kind of three important aspects to relationships. And so let me give these to you. This is on your outline as well. The first one is you need to fight for your marriage hand in hand. That is relational intimacy. What is relational intimacy? It means simply just being together, right? Hand in hand, doing things together. It can be as simple as going to Costco together, going for a walk, sharing a hobby or activity. I think what happens in marriages is we just start ending up being the separatist, right? Remember that from the first part? Living two separate lives. And so I just want to encourage you, do things together. It could be as simple, like I said, that Costco one is one for me and my wife. Most Mondays, that's my day off. Kids go to school. When the kids are off school, I'm sad because that means I don't just get to be with my wife. But Mondays, my wife wakes up early. She goes to work out after the kids leave. I'm sitting watching ESPN, catching up sports from the weekend because I work on the weekends, drinking coffee. She comes back home, and then we usually run errands together. And it's just a simple way for us relationally to be together. So you got to do life hand in hand. You fight for your marriage hand in hand. Right? Look at your schedule, look at your life. How many things are you doing together? Start this week. Go on a date, run some errands, turn off the TV, sit on the couch, have a conversation. That leads to this, heart to heart, intellectual intimacy. This is communication. If you're hand in hand, eventually, hopefully, you'll start sharing heart to heart. We actually do this in our first point, right? You have meaningful conversations. Guys, we need to be aware that one area of women's greatest need and desire in marriage is heart to heart, emotional investments. And so that we can kind of cut out the noise, turn off the distractions, and we can share what's going on in each other's life. This week I was with a mentor of mine, and one of the things that he talked about that him and his wife do is every time when they come home, eventually, sometimes it doesn't happen within the first 5 minutes or the hour, but before they go to bed, they always have a download of here's what happened in my day. Because eventually what happens with here's what happens in my day, it helps us understand how our spouse is feeling. Because usually what happens is, hey, and this happened, and we start to realize, oh, the reason they're frustrated is because something's going on in work, right? The reason they could be a little upset is because there was this relational conflict or something happened. So we have to have hand-in-hand relational intimacy, heart-to-heart intellectual intimacy, right? Sharing kind of our hopes and dreams and what's going on in our life. And then if we do those things well, here's what it leads to. Guys, we usually want to jump to this one, skin on skin, sexual intimacy. All the guys that your wife made you listen to this, you just started paying attention. This is an important aspect to healthy marriages and relationships. Ladies, be aware, this is guys' greatest need and desire in marriage. Ladies want most are intellectual intimacy. Guys, we're wired a little bit different. And so here's, guys, we need to be reminded of how this list works. In fact, next week, we're going to spend the message talking about sex. That's the entire message next week. But let me give you a little math equation for how this works, fellas. Hopefully this will help you out. Hand in hand plus heart to heart equals skin on skin. That's how it works, right? Like in a relationship, think about the beginning of your relationships. Why was there all this passion and all this love? Because you were spending a whole lot of time doing things together. That's what happens early on in relationships, in dating. There were lots of heart-to-heart conversations to get to know each other, hopes and dreams. And what did it lead to? A whole lot of passion in your relationship. Then what happens as we stay together longer is we get lazy. That's what happens. And we still want the passion part, but we've neglected the hand-in-hand and the heart-to-heart. And here's just kind of the closing point that I want to give you. What do? All right, here's a great point. Write this last one down. Number 4, make love a verb. Make love a verb. Why do I say that? Because you can't command an emotion, right? Like you can't make someone have a feeling of love. And that's why the Bible defines love not as a feeling. You can't possibly make somebody feel a certain way about another person. It's an emotion. Like is an emotion. Love is a decision. That's what I mean, make love a verb. It is an action. Let me give you one last verse that goes along with the verse we ended part 1 with before we received communion. John 13:34, these are the words of Jesus. So now I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. What is Jesus saying? Love is an action. How did he love us? To the point of giving his life on a cross. He showed us what real love looks like. And he tells us the basis for our love and the basis for our forgiveness in relationships is him. He's the standard. And so here's what I want to encourage you to do. Make love an action in your marriage this week. Look for ways that you can love your spouse, not just with words. That is an action, right? Like positive affirmation and words. But what are the other ways that you can serve and bless and love your spouse? I pray God gives you wisdom this week as you go. I'm going to try to do that a little better. We're all doing it imperfectly. If you are new around our church and you're watching this, or maybe you're just downloading the podcast, here's what you need to know about our church, that it is a place full of messed up, imperfect people, that we're all just together trying to learn and love a little better like Jesus. And we're all on this journey. So let's look for opportunities to put love into action in our relationships this week. So thanks for joining us for part 2. Next week, join us in person, or if you're out of town, join us online. We're going to be talking about sex. That is the topic next week. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Hope to see you then.